And you guys are ready to go live. So whenever you're ready to start.
Great. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our Filmmaker Fridays. Thanks so much for joining us. Thank you, Michael, for joining us today for this conversation.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's such an honor. Um, Filmmaker Fridays is a chance for BPM to spotlight our filmmaking community. And I'm Denise, the Director of Programs at Black Public Media. Michael Britto is joining us today to talk about An Extra Day to Be Black. It's a film by Nanso Christo Ubode featuring Michael. And it is a part of our AfroPop Digital series. So if you haven't seen it, it is now streaming on Black Public Media's YouTube channel. And today we're just going to dig in with Michael to talk about the film and to talk about the art that you're doing now. Just for a brief introduction, Michael is, I love the short little bio in your email signature, Michael, because it says so much. Visual artist, mentor, educator, DJ. You're doing a lot, and I love it. Everything that you do is fantastic. I encourage everyone to visit Michael's website, which you can see all that he's doing. In today's talk, we'll dig into to get a chance to experience his work, which goes from videos to photography, to sculpture, to collage and performance. That's actually how I first met you, I feel, was at one of your performances.
I'm working on my website actually because it got hijacked, and I had to like get my name back. So if anybody goes to the website now, it's pretty limited, but I'm in the process of working on it right now. So
okay, yeah,
stuff will be added as I go.
Okay, I just went and it looks fantastic, and your bio is incredibly impressive. So I hope we get to hear more about your work.
Okay.
But let's start with the film, An Extra Day to Be Black.
Okay.
What a provocative title.
Yeah. How did that came about? It was interesting because at the time I would always go by Black Public Media and visit Christian, and we would see each other out at events and do stuff. And at the time, he was working on this series. I think it was called Blacks Don't Do That or something like that.
Black folks don't.
Black folks don't. Right.
Yeah.
So we would talk and always joke about that, and he would always say, "I need to do a studio visit," and then we were talking about like trying to figure out a way to work on something for that show. Okay. And I told him I had a studio at the time, and he was saying he wanted to come visit. And then it was Black History Month, and I was joking around, and I said, it's leap year and it's extra day to be Black, so we need to figure out something about that. So he was like, I'm gonna come and do a studio visit. And he came to do a studio visit, but he also came with like a camera person, and we made a video that day. And when we talked about it, I didn't think it was going to actually happen. And then when it actually happened, I was like, oh, this is, I hate seeing myself on camera. Like right now, I'm dying because I'm on this Zoom. And, but you got to do what you got to do. But so when the video went up, when the video came out and he did it, I was just like, wow, this is pretty interesting. And then people had seen it and they would ask me about it and talk to me about it. And then when Black Public Media approached me about it again, I was like, wow, this thing still has like life.
It still has life. That's what surprised me. I was like, this is a flashback, but in many ways it's not. I mean, some of the same notions of Black History Month, trotting out the same figures and stuff like that. So I was feeling some kind of way about that. But just to let everyone know, Christian is a beloved BPM team member who is now watching us from above. I don't remember his exact title, but I do remember around the office people calling him Boy Genius. And that's because he's very young and extremely brilliant and lay the foundation for so many great initiatives that we still have going on and that people still talk about, like Black Folk Don't. So I'm glad you brought his name into this conversation. I was wondering if you had any favorite memories of Christian.
Oh my God, so many. But I remember when we went to Africa, actually, and we had a really good time over there. And I think that they got a kick out of me being out of my comfort zone
Uh-huh.
because there was a lot of things. I had never been to Africa before, and I'm so, I don't know how to say it.
Was it
Like
for
so,
BPM?
it's just like being out of my element was pretty interesting, and but I loved it. I loved being over there. It was interesting, but um, I think that they got a kick out of some of my responses to a lot of the situations that happened over there. And
Nice.
yeah, and Christian helped me like navigate a lot of those kind of spaces and stuff over there because it was interesting. Like we were in a house and like half the house the electricity would turn off and then this would happen and we would walk to the school and we would see people. I would see people outside.
Mm-hmm.
This is a lot of things. Then we went to the gate of no return and we went into this like cave and it was we were in this dark cave and the guy was I was like, what is that noise? And they were like, those are the bats. And I was like, bats?
Yeah.
There's bats in this cave?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we're in that dark cave with bats. But little things like that, like, it was cool. It was
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. So was that for a BPM project?
No, we went there to the teach young people how to make videos with cell phones. So Nokia had given us cell phones, and we were teaching them how to edit and make these one-shot videos to talk about what was going on in their villages and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, I think that is related to, at least, if it's not directly related, it informed the New Media Institute, where we took people out like to Mississippi and other places to use
Yeah.
their camera for that. Just like that. That's so interesting.
So if y'all go to Africa again, let me know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Man. So have you thought about like what are you doing for this extra day?
For this extra day, actually,
Yeah.
I got some artwork that I'm working on,
Okay.
and I'm gonna just listen to some music like I usually do, and just create some new work because I haven't had. I just recently moved into this new art space, so I haven't had a chance to make things. Because prior to this I was working out of my apartment, so now I have some space to work and get some stuff out of my head. So this I'm really excited about the possibilities of what I could do, and I actually have a photo show opening tonight
Okay.
at the Bronx River Art Center.
Mm-hmm.
I'm showing some Polaroid stuff, uh, analog Instagram is what I like to think of them as, and I'm also I have a show at the end of the year in November,
Uh-huh.
and I'm working on getting creating brand new work. So the studio that I'm in right now
Yeah.
is on the site where Spofford used to be. So they
Okay.
tore Spofford down.
Yeah.
They put a residential building, but in the building there's an art studio space
For
for
people
artists.
that are not from New York, can you
Oh,
tell it?
so Spofford used to be. I don't want to. I'm probably going to say Spofford used to be an institution where they would send like juvenile delinquents or something like that back in the day.
Mhm.
And so it was very controversial. A lot of bad things happened to young brown men that came here, and they wound up closing it down. So it was here for a while standing, and nothing was going on with it. And then they finally tore it down, and they tore it down with the intention of building affordable housing and when they wanted to make it a art destination.
Mhm.
So the part that I'm in, the art part that I'm in, is called Inspiration Point,
Okay.
and they have studio spaces for artists, and they have a dance studio and a podcast studio and a photo
Mhm.
studio, and it's like
Mhm.
affordable for artists to have. So I've been in the Bronx for a couple of years, and
Yeah.
I just found this space kind of by accident because I was looking for a studio, and when I went to meet with the curator about the show that she asked me to be in, I told her I was going to be making the work out of my house, and I had mentioned to her that I was looking for a studio, and she introduced me to the guy who runs this place. His name is Daniel Freeman, and
Uh-huh.
we hit it off, and I wound up getting a studio here. So
yeah. Oh, that's great. So how long have you been in the space? Not that
I've
long.
been in this space since December of last year.
Mm-hmm. So, so you were saying you have an exhibit that's coming up?
Yeah. So,
Mhm.
well, Bronx Arts Bronx Arts has a gallery down the block from here,
Mhm.
and I'm going to be doing a show there in November, um, and a two-person show. I get to pick the other artists that I'm going to be in the show with,
Mhm.
but I'm in the process of meeting with different people because I want to try to do something different. So I'm actually meeting with a choreographer next week because I want to try to maybe get back into working with a dancer on some stuff. And
Mhm.
I haven't done any performances since This Little Word of Mine.
Uh-huh.
So I'm really interested, and people have been asking me, how come you don't do any more performances? So I'm thinking about what that could possibly be. So I have some ideas for some performances, but it's like I want to make sure that it's going to be
You know,
interesting and stuff. Yeah, what
yeah,
people want
yeah.
to do.
Let's I love what you're talking about and where you're going with your artwork. I'd love to give people a sense of what you used to do and your trajectory. So
Mhm.
the film actually does a great job of showing your inspiration with your Black collectibles, and then your irreverent take on many different issues,
Mhm.
class, race issues. So I'd love to talk about that. But before you go there, I'm curious about in so well, thinking about the film, you were talking about what you're going to do for your extra day to be Black.
Mhm.
You said, do you remember what you said?
No, I don't. Can you remind
Yeah,
me?
you're gonna track down 125th Street in your
Oh
neighborhood.
yes, yes. Okay, so I made a couple of clan suits out of kente cloth, and I was gonna actually put one on and walk down 125th Street, but I was advised by several of my friends to not do that, and they said it could be problematic and I might get hurt. But so I didn't do that. But that I didn't think about doing that this year. So maybe who knows?
But yeah, the film. That's what I love about the film, because every time I watch it, I'm just like laughing, bowling over. Um, you also have this piece in the film about window culture.
Yes.
Um, Talk about that. Talk about like where you're from and what's
Okay.
window culture and how that
So
ended up to be an art piece.
my dad is Puerto Rican and my mom is Curacao and American Black, um and the culture is like okay. So my mom used to yell like watch us from the window and yell stuff to us out the window, and that was the first like that's how she used to monitor us to make sure we were okay outside, whatever, in the back of our building. And then when I moved into the city, I went to City College, and then I moved into the Bronx. I just saw this culture all the time, everywhere, like people in the window watching their kids, you know. So I came up with this concept called bochinches, the gossips, and it was a series of women talking about what was going on in the neighborhoods in these windows. So if you go into the gallery, well, the way it was set up was it was these little video vignettes that I had shot, and I did it with the window, just the window. I cropped out the rest, but you just saw the window and the person in the window. And when you go into the gallery, when it was exhibited, the windows would pop up in different parts of the gallery, high up. So you would have to look up at them. But they were these videos where all the stories were kind of like connected in a way, but you had to like actually watch them to see how they were connected. And it was just about that the culture, you know, window culture, people yelling out the window, gossiping out the window, watching people, talking about people. And I did that was a video series and also a photo series.
Mhm.
And I had actually built a window in the studio that in my old studio.
Mhm.
I would have my friends come over and we would just like workshop and um, just like improv different scenarios. Like I would give them scenarios and they would improv it, and then I would tell them what kind of costumes I wanted. And
Yeah.
I actually went up into Washington Heights and bought the curtains with the certain curtains and everything. I was very specific about how I wanted it to look.
Yeah.
We even had somebody brought a Chihuahua dog in as a prop So it was pretty cool doing
Yeah.
that. That's the thing about having a studio. There's the possibilities of doing so many different things are cool.
Yeah.
You could do things, but like not having a space, like working out in my living room, it's like you work on something, you gotta put it away. You can't really build props,
Right.
you can't really do anything. So
Yeah. Well, so where do you exhibit? Like, what year are we talking about for the window culture?
oh, the window pieces were around, I want to say that was around 2010, 2012,
Uh-huh.
like in that, like around that time.
Mm-hmm.
The studio was in Brooklyn at
Mm-hmm.
the Brooklyn off of the BQE,
Yeah.
and the building was sold to a brewery, and they made us leave.
Okay. Okay.
And then after I left there, I didn't have a studio for a while. Then I moved to the Bronx, and I found a studio in the Bronx that was subsidized by a not for profit. And then during the pandemic, they went out of business, so we had to move out of there.
Yeah.
So a lot of the stuff that I had in the studio, those props and stuff, I had to get rid of it because I didn't have space for it.
Yeah.
Now, like I said, I'm in Inspiration Point now, and I have a space now,
Yeah.
and I've already been here for a couple of months. So it takes me a little while to get used to a space before I
Yeah.
can really start getting comfortable in it.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of ideas, a lot of stuff that I want to do, films, short videos, performances, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And hopefully, I'll get a lot of it done. Like, because right now I'm actually in school getting my master's in special education, and I'm done. I'm done in May,
Uh-huh.
and that's why I had to push the show until the end of the year because I wanted to make sure I had time to create the work and workshop stuff, and not have to have it, coincide with school and stuff like that. So
Yeah. Yeah. So you actually started off wanting to be, you are a filmmaker,
yes.
A visual artist,
Mhm.
but your initial path was going to film school. Can you talk about that and how
Yeah.
the
I
gallery
always wanted to make. Okay, so back in the days, I used to borrow my aunt's VHS camera, and I used to make movies to just like pass the time and make myself feel better. It was kind of like my therapy. And then I always wanted to go to film school, and I wound up going to Bronx Community College. And at the time, I went to Bronx Community College. They had a little basic film class. It was a Super 8 film class. And when I got to the school, they canceled the class. So I was pissed. So I found the professor who was supposed to teach it, and he said if I got the other students together that had signed up for the class, he would reinstate it and do it as an independent study. So that was when I first started doing film. We did Super 8 film, and we used to get it developed. We actually cut it and taped it together, the whole thing. And then from there, he encouraged me to apply to City College because they had a thing at the time called the Picker Institute. And I went to City College, but by the time I got into school, you don't get to make. That was the other thing. I got into film school. I was like, I'm gonna make films, and it's like, no, you got to do these things first, and then you can start doing film.
Yeah.
So by the time I got to start messing around with film, the Picker Institute had changed, and they made it into a master's program.
Okay.
But I was an undergrad at City College, and then when I went to City College, I wound up going to. I wound up working in commercial production. I started working in TV commercials for this company called Headquarters Film. No, I'm sorry, 5 Union Square Films first. Then I worked at Headquarters Films, and they did like some really popular TV commercials at the time. And then 9/11 happened, and all the work went to California. And I went to California, and I didn't like it. I came back, and a friend of mine, Clara Ruiz, worked at DCTV, and she had asked me if I would be interested in teaching some young people video production. And I was like, I never worked with kids before. I don't know if I could do that. She was like, just do it. I know you can do it. So that summer I did a class with some students, and it went well. And I wound up being at DCTV up until now. I still work there, teaching video production with them. But then at one of the production companies I worked at, one of the producers had suggested to me I might want to think about showing my work in more of an art context. And I went around to different galleries with VHS tapes saying, do you show video art? Do you show video art? Because I didn't know how you did it. I just thought, that would be a good way, not realizing I wasn't doing it right. But anyway, I went to a gallery and I met the artist who was running Rush Arts at the time. His name is Derek Adams. And Derek Adams actually gave me my first show. It was a video. He put one of my videos in a show called It's Bigger Than Hip Hop. And that show led to another show. Huh?
Say that again. What was it called?
It's bigger than hip hop.
Okay, that was the name of the show. Okay.
Yeah, and Kehinde Wiley was in that show. Micheline Thomas was in that show. Like a lot of people that are really, really big right now in that show.
Wow.
And so Derek gave me my first start, and then I just kept showing different things, and then I got some residencies, and the residencies, like being in close proximity with different people working in different mediums, started to get me thinking about like making different things like collage and working in sculpture and things. So I get bored easy, and my attention span is quick, so I'm always like trying to figure out new things.
Yeah.
And so I'm always trying out different things. And Derek is actually the one who encouraged me to do this little word of mine, because I was initially gonna hire somebody to be the preacher and the whole thing.
Yeah.
And Derek was like, "You should just do it.
Yeah.
Do it."
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to be singing and all this kind of stuff. But I did it. I didn't die. It didn't go that bad.
Yeah.
So but that was the last performance that I actually did. I've been in other people's performances, but that was the last performance. And Rada Blank was in this little word of mine.
Yeah.
There's a lot. There's like a lot.
A lot of great things. Yeah. And Rush Arts Gallery, founded by Danny Simmons.
Yes. Rush Arts Gallery is founded by Danny Simmons. And I'm actually working on a documentary about that whole experience that I'm working with. Yeah, I'm working with Duana Butler, we're trying to right now, because the school is kind of on hold, but we've been in talks with Danny and a bunch of things about getting it done.
Yeah.
And so that's something that we're going to be working on, because I didn't know that Rush, out of they have like this like archive kind of thing. Yeah. I didn't realize that I was one of the artists that was shown the most out of that gallery. I had no idea, because I was always being put in shows by different curators and stuff like that.
Right.
So that was a good, because when we talked about doing the documentary, I wanted to do it talking to Danny about his, like, how he started it. And we wound up thinking about maybe I can be one of the characters in it, weaving all these stories together. So that's what we're in the process of working.
Yeah.
In addition to everything else.
Yeah. So you said that you were showed the most. You were one of the artists to show the most.
Yeah, like in the different galleries, in the different shows that they put on their exhibitions.
Yeah,
I was in a lot. I was in a couple, like a lot of them.
That's great. So, I'm real curious. In your bio, it lists all these different places where you've shown nationally and internationally. If you could talk about.
I was in a show in Poland, Warsaw, Poland, which was interesting because it was the first time they had shown Black artists in Poland. But the other thing that was interesting about that, they had us all on the same plane. So if that plane would have crashed, all the Black artists would have been done. So we went there to Poland. Hank Willis Thomas was on that plane.
What?
I was on that plane.
So we're talking Thomas Allen Harris.
Hank Willis Thomas.
Oh, Hank Willis Thomas. Okay.
Hank Willis Thomas. Sean Leonardo, me, Leonardo, Drew. I can't remember all of them. Stanford Biggers, and he brought some musician friends with him.
Wow.
Kehinde. I'm not Kehinde. Kehinde was there, but he wasn't on that plane.
Well, what year is this, and what was the show?
Oh my God, this year. What year was that? That was. I want to say that was.
Do you remember the name of the show too?
Yes, it was called Black Alphabet, and it was at the Saheta. And then I was also in the Victoria Albert. I was in a show at the Victoria Albert. I was in shows in St. Louis. I was in shows in Minneapolis. I was in shows in Africa, South Africa.
Yeah. Yeah. What your work is really provocative. And so I'm curious, out of all these spaces that you've been in, is there any memorable event that, in terms of people's reactions to you?
Yeah. I was in a show at Princeton, and I was supposed to go do an artist talk, and I had shown a video. There was a video piece of work that I did called "I'm a Slave for You." And it's like a video of people dressed as slaves dancing to Britney Spears' "I'm a Slave for You." And it was on display in Princeton.
Uh-huh.
And they made, and this was the year Obama had gotten elected, and they were mad that the curator had curated this and this, and why are we still showing this kind of stuff? Why don't we forget about this stuff? And
Uh-huh.
they made a big deal about it, and they not shouldn't say protest it, but they were gonna protest it. And so they put a disclaimer on the video, like telling people if they gave the visitor the option to turn the TV on and watch it if they wanted to,
Uh-huh.
which wasn't anything that I agreed to. And I didn't
Right.
know this. So I went up to do an artist talk. And when I got there to do the artist talk, the video was off and they had this disclaimer. I was like, I didn't even know about this. How come nobody told me about this? And then they made such a big deal about it, and people were calling and did it. And I went up there to do a talk, and nobody showed up for the artist talk. Nobody showed up. And I was like, they make all this stink about it, but nobody showed up. And I was sitting up in Princeton by myself with the curator, and we were like, this is interesting. They made such a big deal, and you have this disclaimer, and now nobody's here. So we just wound up having dinner and talking about it, and that was it.
Right. Right.
But people always like will tell me like some of the stuff that I do, the people don't really want to see that kind of work. Nobody wants to have that hanging in their house. Why do you still talk about these things? But my thing is, I talk about stuff. I make work about stuff that resonates to me and that speaks to me, and
Yeah.
it's about my experience. And if people don't like it, I mean, I used to think about like, um, I hope I'm not, like trying not to piss people off and not making people feel uncomfortable. But then it's like, I don't wind up being truthful about how I feel about things when I approach it that way. So I just put
Yeah.
it out. If you like it, you like it.
Yeah.
If you don't, you don't.
Yeah.
You know. And I know that sometimes it's hard for curators to stand behind some of the stuff that I want to make and do. But then there are curators that are like bold enough and cool enough to stand by it and put it out and do it. But then I've had people say, why don't you do something different? Why don't you do stuff that people could like have in their house and not be reminded of
No.
things? But it's like, why make something if it's not
Yeah.
going to speak to people? Because my thing is, I want the work to speak way after I'm gone and I'm not here. I want people to see it and go, what the hell is this? Or what is this about? And that's why it's interesting that this video, an extra day to be black, is still we made that such a while ago, but it's like it still resonates and it's still interesting for people to see it.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's crazy. I'm thinking about the way you relate to your art is probably what you impart on your students as a space to using their art to just
Mm-hmm.
communicate, and express themselves genuinely.
Mm-hmm.
Would you agree is that your motivation to teach or?
Oh, definitely. Well, at first, yeah, definitely. But it's also interesting when I got into teaching, like working at DCTV was completely different than me working at the Board of Education now, because I see different things. And now that I'm studying special education, it's like, it's so sad and it's so messed up, the stuff that I'm learning about, the stuff that I'm seeing, the stuff that goes on. And it's funny because a lot of me working with young people informs a lot of my work too. So like for instance, in my silhouettes and some of my collages, these are like stories and images of students that I've worked with or that I've spoken to, that I've mentored, stuff like that. So I'm always encouraging students, but it's also cool for me because I always felt like being a teacher, I didn't want to be the teacher that's like, they say those who can do and those who can't teach. And I always didn't want to be that person.
Yeah.
So it's also cool that I could teach students and also have them see me in real time,
Yeah.
doing things and having shows and inviting them to things. And because that was one of the things, I had this professor in college, her name was Zoe Beloff, and she was she was teaching and doing. And I always remember she invited us to things, showed us things, taught us things, invited us to our house, invited us to our events. And I'm still cool with her now, still work with her now, still part of her projects.
Yeah.
I always think that, that's the thing that keeps me going also, because it's like, I feel like if I'm going to be teaching you to do what I do, I should still be doing it. And also I'm training you to take my place or not me, whatever. But it's also like, I want to make sure that I'm getting something out of it also, because I don't want to be that person that hates going to work and hates working with people.
Yeah.
Gets an attitude because I got to get up and go do something. I want to be happy about what I'm doing. I want to, at least have something else going on for myself and not just giving and not getting anything back. Because teaching is the most thankless job ever.
Yeah.
It's so thankless.
Yes, yeah, yeah. It's unfortunate, but I love what you were saying about incorporating what you do with your students in your current work, and I feel like what you showed me a little bit a while ago in your a current piece that you're working on reflects that. Can you
Mhm.
show that now?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So I have some like I said, I'm working on getting my website together,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been scanning in some of my work. So I'm kind of rediscovering my work also
Oh,
as
cool.
I go through my portfolio and see things. So can you see my screen now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So these are some of my collages that I'm working on. So this is just straight up like images from magazines, and I cut the silhouettes out. So the actual silhouettes are photographs that I treat in Photoshop and Illustrator, and then I cut them out.
Yeah,
So the negative space and the positive space are always like kind of related.
that's great. I don't know if you can make that bigger. I don't know if
Let me see. Can I think I can make it bigger so you can see details.
yeah, I can. Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
That's really cool.
So this is a series called My Brother's Keeper,
Uh-huh.
and um,
That's great. You're getting comments in the chat. Very cool. Um,
oh,
yeah, and Trell is asking, do you think young artists today are emboldened as you are now to create from their truth, as opposed to creating work that is,
I think that a lot of artists are like they doing things that they see other people doing, especially with social media so much.
yeah,
I don't there's like there are people doing really unique things, but then a lot of people are just doing like these formulaic things that they see, just copying what other people do,
yeah.
and that's kind of sad to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow.
So this is the kind of stuff that people say, why am I like nobody wants this kind of stuff in their head, but this kind of stuff to me speaks volumes about my experience of things that I know,
Mm-hmm.
and things that I see or hear about every day.
Is this going to be a part of the Bronx River show? I thought it was
Um,
tonight.
it could be, it could be. I don't. I'm trying to create like all new, completely all brand new work for the Bronx River. No,
Okay.
I'm sorry. The Bronx River Art Show that's tonight.
Yeah.
That's just Polaroids. That's
Oh,
Polaroid
I see.
photos. It's 24 Polaroids. The show in November is going to be all brand new work, inspired by stories from Spofford, and some other stuff. I've been really into old slave songs and slave narratives. And there's a slave graveyard near where my new studio is that I've been talking to people about.
Hmm.
So it's like that kind of stuff that I'm pretty interested in.
That's great. This is really fantastic. Fantastic. And so, how long does it take you to make?
So usually what happens is I'll go and I'll do like a photo shoot, and I'll take a bunch of photos
Mhm.
in a day or two, and then I'll go through them and decide which ones I want to use, and then I treat them and make them into silhouettes, and
Yeah.
then I start to cut the stuff out. But then it's like me going through the magazines and harvesting the images to try to figure out what I want to cut it out of,
Yeah.
and that's what takes most of the time. But once I start cutting and pasting, I get into a groove, and I'm just like, and I go on and on and on with it.
Yeah. So magazines seem like a thing of the past, but that's still something that you can pull from.
But magazines are a thing in the past, and sometimes I find them, and I use catalogs, magazines. But what I've been doing recently, which is really interesting, is I've been making laser prints
Oh,
because everything is digital now. So
yeah.
finding magazines is not as easy. I used to be able to find magazines all the time, but when I do find them, it's like people will throw them out, or I'll grab some in the street or whatever. But it's like now it's a combination of magazines and laser prints now for me,
Yeah.
because I'm finding that there's not that many magazines around at disposal anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this is fantastic.
And there's also some drawings too that I did. These are from 2009.
Yeah. Yeah.
Self portrait.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I'm a budding collector. Look what I have.
Oh, That is cool.
What is that from?
It is from, this is a word of mine. Is that a handmade one, or is that
It's a signed one.
That is a handmade one. Those are very rare. I don't have one of those.
Yeah, I feel very lucky.
When I did the show, at the kitchen, the extended one.
Yeah.
I had them made. I couldn't make them myself because I didn't have the time.
Yeah.
And I had a budget this time, and I made. I got them made. I went to a church fan place and had them actually made.
Yeah.
So I originally did the show. When I originally did the show, those are made by hand. I went to the Home Depot and got a bunch of sticks, and I actually printed those in color, and I cut them out by hand, and we glued them down because I really wanted them, and I didn't have the money to make them, so I made them by hand. So anybody who has those are like very rare. But
oh my goodness.
Yeah.
It's going in a frame tonight.
Yeah, I definitely don't have. I don't even have one of those. But I will say, anybody who does a studio visit with me, I have a bunch of the ones from the kitchen left over.
Okay.
People stop me in the street and goes, "Hey, do you have any more of those fans?" And I'm like, "Actually, I do." And I also have some posters left over from my Disseminate show that I did on the Grand Conquest too.
That's great.
Yeah, so I have things. I have a lot of things left over.
Yes. Well, before we wrap up, I just want to say that the playlist that you made for this year, this extra day to be Black, is the Blackity Black, Black extra day to be Black mix is fire.
Okay, good. I was just to ask you if you got to listen to it.
Yes, it was really, really good. Cool. So is that available to the public?
Yes. Yes. It's online. You can go just listen to it. You could, I think I made it downloadable.
Great.
And I also have a Mixcloud channel that I'm going to be uploading mix. I like music. Oh, that's another thing. Music gets me through a lot of things. And I listen to music when I create. So I'm always listening to music and music and stuff like that. So
yeah. No, that actually, that's a great one. That I'm filling my 29th with that playlist for sure. Cranking it to the neighbors will be knocking. So
that's cool.
So, man, well, I can't thank you enough for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me. This was exciting. I will honestly say I was nervous about it, but it went well. I think that it was a good conversation. I blocked out all of the scared stuff going through my head, and now I just got to get ready to go to the Bronx River Arts Center. So I'll tell you where it is. The Bronx River Arts Center show is going to be. It's at what's the address? It is Bronx River Arts Center, 1087 East Tremont Avenue, Bronx, New York, 10460. Great. If you go to their website, bronxriverart.org, the RSVP is going to say it's sold out. Don't worry about that. You can still come. You can still come. They emailed me and told me that people can still come. Don't worry about the RSVP thing. So if you want to come through, the show's open until April 6th. So you don't have to necessarily go tonight for the opening, but take your time. And we will be doing an artist talk. So I will be there in person doing an artist talk about the actual work that's in this show. Yeah, so, that's tonight though. The opening is tonight, but the show's up until April 6th. Okay, that's good to know. I'm definitely going to make that. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Michael, for gracing us with your brilliance.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, we're very thankful to have you in this conversation, and we'll do it again, hopefully sometime.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Check out the mix and the movie.
Yes, exactly. Check out the film.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.